Joining us right now is Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin. He's a member of the Armed Services and Environment and Public Works Committees. Senator, it's good to have you this morning. Thanks very much. How would you assess President Biden's trip to NATO?
Well, every time he talks at a mic, you almost have to hold your breath. And it's ridiculous that we have the President of the United States, who should be the strong voice for the world right now, standing strong in NATO. I mean, my goodness, we're the biggest funder of NATO right now. And when he speaks, you honestly are almost embarrassed. He constantly is making mistakes. He gets lost in the middle of his words. He forgets who he's going to shake hands with. And I hate it because we need to be portraying strength, because if the United States is going to lead from the front, we should be truly portraying peace through strengths. And you can't do that with Biden and Vice President Harris at the helm.
Do you believe the U.S. has declined in these last 2 years?
Absolutely we have. I just look at what's happening around the world. We didn't have all these conflicts going on when Trump was at the White House. And truthfully, people was fearful of him. You may not liked his tactics, but you respected and understood that he led from the front by strength. And that's who we need right now leading. When you have a very aggressive President Xi in China, who is trying to build a Belt and Road Initiative and make all the world dependent on him and replace us as a world leader. You have Putin, who is being a bully around Europe, and he's threatening nuclear war, and at the same time invading Ukraine. And you have no presence for us, and it's caused a vacuum. And you have jockeying going on with President Xi trying to be strong, President Erdogan trying to be strong. Yeah. You have different countries trying to come in and take the helm of this. You need somebody centrally focused saying, guys, we're going to lead from the front. And unfortunately, NATO, it looks at the United States to do that, and we don't have that person with the strength and the ability to lead from the front in President Biden.
Well, it certainly feels like dangerous times right now, frankly. Senator, you questioned President Biden as nominee for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff on Tuesday. Let's take a watch.
Nearly everyone that comes in front of this committee this year has talked about the challenges we have with recruiting. At the same time, during COVID, we had let 8,000 capable servicemen and women go for not wanting to get the vaccination. How do we bring those individuals back into the fold now that the pandemic is, quote, over?
Each of the services has a process to allow those members who want to return, and they'll review their them coming back into the service.
Do you support bringing them back in?
On a case-by-case basis.
Senator, were you pleased with his answer? What was your takeaway there? Because there's lots of worry out there that our military has declined in numbers. People do not want to join the military. They're afraid with this commander-in-chief.
Well, I would love to him to be a lot stronger in his response to me. I'd love for him to say, yes, I support it. I'm going to put an initiative out to be able to bring it in. He was laying it out, which he was being somewhat political by it, but I completely understand General Brown's position on this to some degree, because he was like, I'm going to allow chain of command to make those decisions case by case. But the fact is, you have a whole bunch of men and women that had a less than honorable discharge, not an honorable discharge, a less than honorable discharge for not wanting a vaccination that a lot of the American people agree with it, didn't believe in. And I believe they had the right to make those decisions. And so what I would love for General Brown to have said was, we're going to bring every one of them back and give them an opportunity to serve again. And then my next step would say, then we need to change the less than honorable discharge to an honorable discharge for those that stood their ground and said they didn't want to. So I respected where he was trying to go with it. Yeah. I'm going to continue to work with him to make that a much stronger statement, because we need all 8,000 of those capable men and women back in the service and serving this great country.
Yeah, but I mean, if you were to have gotten that kind of an answer, that would be an admission that it was a mistake to fire those people because they wouldn't get the vaccine. And that's probably something he doesn't want to do. Admit.
Which is, yes. Which is why I understood his answer and I respected where he was trying to go with it, because I knew what he was trying to walk around with. But I've had conversations with General Brown privately, And I will tell you, he feels very strong on trying to bring those men and women back in. I feel very strongly about that.
Well, Senator, look, let's face it. Right now, we're talking about a Navy that is smaller than the China Navy. I mean, China has been investing in its military while we're fighting over the dollars. Kaylee, you just mentioned what's going on in the military. Jump in here.
Yeah, Senator, I had an interesting conversation with a spokesperson from the Joint Chiefs Office a couple of weeks ago who insisted to me that military readiness has not been affected at all and that the military is ready to go. And that you talk to people, veterans, current service members, and even people outside of the military who are very concerned about the trajectory of recruitment and about the record low number of families who are recommending their children to serve in the armed forces. I'm interested to hear, what are you hearing on the ground from service members and from veterans?
Well, Kayla, I'm hearing the same thing that you have, and I also understand where the DOD's come from this. And what they're not telling you is the whole story. We are capable of defending and fighting today, and we have the best men and women and the ability to deliver that first blow. What we don't have is a lot in reserves. So we had that first wave capability. We had the second wave capability. What we don't have is the third. So where China has more shipbuilding capability, they're able to kick out more ships. They have almost 3 to 1 at our point on some areas. When you're talking about ships above the water, when we're talking about submarines, no one's even touching us in those areas. When you're talking about merchant marines and merchant ships, which is important during wartime because we've got to get products from point A to point B, we're not even in the realm. We have like 80 merchant ships, and they have 5,000 merchant ships. When you start talking about reserves, men and women in uniform, that's where the recruitment has come into place and it harms us. So we are able to deliver that first initial punch, but we are going to be in trouble if we go much longer than that.
Well, Senator, the president just recently admitted that we're low on ammunition. Should we be sending more weaponry to Ukraine right now?
Well, we have to support Ukraine. I believe that wholeheartedly. Understand the weapons that we are sending and the munitions that we're sending to Ukraine are a lot of things that are outdated for us. So McAllister Ammunition Depot is inside Oklahoma, and we produce a lot of these rounds. What happens after a certain shelf life, they explode. And so every day at noon in McAllister, Oklahoma, it sounds like thunder going off.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of these munitions that we would be destroying, instead of destroying, we've repurposed those, and that's what's going to Ukraine. So our stockpile that we would use for our men and women actually isn't being drilled down. But Maria, there's a huge supply chain issue in our defense line. And so through munition and through other products that we use to support our men and women, that's a problem. We don't really have the manufacturing inside the United States like we should.
Wow, sure. Yeah, it's an issue for so many sectors, including the military, which is unbelievable, by the way. Senator, thanks very much. Mark Wayne Mullin joining us this morning. We'll keep following all of that. A quick break, and then Mark